Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Riley.
Thank you very much. It makes a very pleasant change, like to be applauded coming somewhere, not to smuggle out of the ground. Doesn't happen to that better, thank you. You feel a lot more at home now.
In Hong Kong to referee the International Soccer Sevens in his season break in May, Mike Riley took time out from the Premier League to speak at a lunch at the football club and also to talk to me. I'd never met a ref face-to-face before, and I had some questions I wanted answering. Have you ever walked off at the end of a game thinking, I'm secretly quite glad they've won?
No, because you're out there to do a job of work, so you're actually very, very dispassionate when you're on the football field. All you see is red against blues, and you go out and give a decision. What you then do is you get into the changing room and you reflect on the game, and it's usually at times like that that you appreciate that you've just been involved in a brilliant game of football.
Very simple question. Current offside law, does it need fixing?
I think you get a different answer if you have the referees to the players or the coaches. From our point of view, I think it works very well, because at the moment it's all about giving the attackers the benefit of the doubt, trying to introduce more goals into the game. Where we've struggled is that the laws evolved so quickly over the last 2 or 3 years that the players and the coaching staff haven't quite got used to the interpretations yet. But that'll settle down over the next year or so.
So it's just a matter of time?
I think it is a matter of time, but then what always happens in football is once people become used to it, new things happen and the law evolves again. So it's a continuous process.
Come on, referee! Get into the game!
Would bringing in video replays really slow down the game? For example, TV stations are managing to bring up replays sort of within 30 seconds.
They do, but it's not like a game like cricket or rugby where you have a natural stoppage in the game that gives you time to look at something. Football's all about flow, and if you stop the game to look at this incident, who knows that you may have missed another incident. I mean, I can think back to a game I did 2 or 3 years ago where there's an appeal for a penalty. Now, as it turns out, it was a penalty, but I didn't give it. I didn't think it was. But immediately from that decision, the ball went up the other end of the field of play and there was a shot on goal. So had you stopped the game to look at that, you'd have missed out on the goal scoring opportunity at the other end. And then the argument runs, well, if you're going to look at that incident there, what about the incident that built up to it, another incident just before that, and it all becomes very difficult.
Of course. Are there any laws or refereeing techniques from other sports that you think could be beneficial to football?
I think probably the one that I'd like to see tried is the use of sin bin, which you have in quite a few other sports, because that makes the punishment immediate and affects that team on that particular game.
Why can't referees stop Wayne Rooney from swearing?
You'd be amazed at the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes between the referees, the Professional Football Association, the clubs. That's all about trying to improve the relationships on a match day between players and referees on the field of play. Now, all that work actually does benefit the game of football, and all we have to do is keep building on that and improve the relationships as we go along. There's a line that is crossed, and when players do cross that line, disciplinary action takes place. And the one thing you have to realise that sometimes on games, particularly as they're being broadcast, the camera will focus in on somebody and you'll see them saying whatever. But in reality, they could be stood on their own, and the referee could be at the other end of the field of play, but you don't see that so often.
Now, speaking of Wayne Rooney, after you refereed the infamous Manchester United-Arsenal game in 2004, the result of which ended Arsenal's unbeaten run, several papers laid into you. How does it make you feel when the media gets quite personal?
You develop coping strategies all the way through your career, and one of the things that you do is, on big games like that, you don't go to the media straight after the game, because you know that the things that are going to be said there aren't going to be complimentary. So that's one of the things that you do, and all you try and do during the game is to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, you can go away saying, yes, I've done my job properly.
There's a school of thought that says that referees should be encouraged to give their opinion straight after a game, so you disagree with that?
Not necessarily, no, because you can go out and explain certain situations, and we've done that. I've done that on 3 or 4 games where unusual things have happened in the game, and it's better to go out and say, look, this is what's happened, this is why we did what we did, so that the spectators can actually understand the process that you've been through.
Is it inevitable that big decisions go the way of the big sides?
No, it's not. You're out on the field of play and all you see is red against blues, and an incident will happen and you'll give an opinion on it, and you're not influenced by the crowd, by the game, by the teams. You're just there to make the decision that you see at the time.
Do you think that it's fair that referees can be demoted by the FA after a bad game?
Yeah, I mean, since we've been so-called professional referees, we have the rewards of the salary, the occupation, and with the rewards comes responsibility. So you have to take those responsibilities seriously, and that means having accountability as well. So you want to appoint the referees who are refereeing well to the games that weekend, and if you've made mistakes, if you're not refereeing well, then you won't be getting the games. I can think back to a game that I did in the semi-professional game a long time ago. It was a local derby between two teams, and it was just from the first whistle to the last whistle, there was aggravation between all the players. It was a struggle to control the players. The players didn't enjoy playing in it, we didn't enjoy refereeing in it. Lots of disciplinary action, and you come off, you're mentally drained, and you think, I'm glad that's finished.
So the best game is the one where you don't really have to do anything, is that right?
If you can come in, do the game, go home, nobody's talking about you, it's been a great game of football, that's a perfect afternoon for a referee.
Now, a fairly general one. Is the pay that good that you don't mind being sworn at for 90 minutes?
You've got this obsession with being sworn at, haven't you?
Oh, everyone does. I mean, it's a big deal in football at the moment, don't you think? I mean, as I think Tony was mentioning, the respect is something that needs to be drilled into these players, because they've grown up in perhaps situations where swearing is perfectly acceptable, and now all of a sudden these directives are coming in trying to stop that, and you know, it is important.
It is, and it's not about swearing, it's about attitude, and what we need to make sure is that we start next season with an attitude that the players and the referees respect each other, and we show that out on the field, because very often people don't appreciate the relationships outside of the 90 minutes are very good, and you'll see this on the sevens. You mix with players, you talk, because you all just love being part of the game of football. But the difference is that once you get out on the game, the players are under pressure to perform. That leads the passion sometimes to overspill, and that's what we've got to try and control.
So the pay is all right? No complaints?
I can't complain at all. I mean, my profession is now refereeing, and when I started out it was a hobby, and I'm now getting paid to do something that I love.
All right, just a couple more left. FA directives again. Why do they seem to be implemented one week and then seemingly forgotten the next?
I'm sure that's not the case, you know.
Well, that's what the general public perception, I think, is often.
Again, it's a combination of things. You have a directive that's issued. We as a group of referees meet every 2 weeks, so you try and get a common approach to implementing that directive. Then what happens is the game, that will happen for 3 or 4 months, maybe a whole season, and then the game evolves, something else will happen, and players move on, referees move on.
Last one. Many footballers are superstitious. What about you? Any rabbit's feet or lucky charms?
The one thing that I don't do, and I don't know why, but I never ring the bell before the game. So one of my assistant referees always has to press the bell to get the teams out.
Okay, Mike. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And enjoy Hong Kong.
Thank you very much.
For the South China Morning Post, this is James Moore.